Reset Your Thoughts for a Fresh Start. Written and published by Stoic Ranger. Introduction. Your mind is not a trash can. Stop letting it collect everything that weighs you down. Overthinking, self-doubt, comparison, negativity, these aren't just bad habits, they're toxins. And just like your body needs rest and cleansing, your mind craves a reset too. If you've been feeling drained, stuck, or simply off, this is your sign to begin your mental detox. This is not about running away from your problems. It's about clearing the fog so you can finally see your path again. Mental clutter doesn't just slow you down, it suffocates your creativity, steals your joy, and blinds you from the peace that's already within you. When your thoughts are tangled, your life feels tangled. But the moment you choose to clean house, everything shifts. This audiobook will clear your mind, reboot your emotions, and give your thoughts the fresh start they deserve. This isn't just motivation, it's your blueprint for inner peace and renewed clarity. Take a deep breath, release what no longer serves you, and prepare to reset your thoughts for good. Chapter 1. Silence, the inner noise. You are not your thoughts. The first and most important step in resetting your mind is learning to separate yourself from the non-stop noise inside your head. Most people never pause to question their thoughts. They assume that because a thought appears, it must be true, and worse, it must be them. But that's one of the biggest mental traps. Your mind can generate hundreds of thoughts, a minute kind, some critical, some fearful, some hopeful. But here's the truth. Not every thought belongs to you. Not every thought is a reflection of who you are. Some thoughts are echoes of things people once said to you. Others are shaped by your upbringing, culture, or the environment you're in. Many are born from fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. Others come from past experiences that left a mark on you, traumas, disappointments, heartbreaks. And yet, when these thoughts rise up, we often accept them blindly. We allow them to define us. We allow them to steer our emotions, cloud our decisions, and distort how we see ourselves. But a mental detox begins when you realize this powerful truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. There's a difference between the voice that speaks and the awareness that hears it. The real you is not the chatter in your mind. It's the quiet presence that notices the chatter. Imagine your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. Some are dark and stormy, some are light and peaceful, but none of them are the sky itself. The sky remains vast, open, and untouched. That sky is your true self. And when you sit in silence, without judgment or reaction, you begin to notice this difference. You start to create space between you and the noise. That space is where clarity lives. That space is where you finally feel like you can breathe. In the beginning, sitting with your thoughts may feel uncomfortable. They may scream for your attention. But don't run, don't react, just observe. Like a witness. Over time, those thoughts begin to lose their grip. They stop feeling like commands and start looking like passing visitors. This silence you create isn't emptiness, it's healing. It's not the absence of thought, but the presence of awareness. And awareness is the first step to freedom. Because when you realize you don't have to believe every thought you think, you unlock the power to choose which thoughts stay and which ones go. You don't detox the mind by escaping from your thoughts. You detox it by watching them clearly, calmly, and consistent, until you see that most of them were never truly you to begin with. Chapter 2. Let go of mental clutter. Not everything deserves space in your mind. Your mind is a sacred space, but most people treat it like a storage room for everything they've ever seen, heard, or felt. They carry around old arguments, replay painful memories, dwell on what others think, and worry about things that haven't even happened yet. Day by day, thought by thought, this mental clutter builds up. It becomes harder to focus, harder to sleep, harder to feel calm and in control. And soon, you begin to feel overwhelmed, not because life is too much, but because your mind is too full. A powerful mental detox means realizing that not every thought deserves your attention. Not every opinion should take root in your mind. Not every past mistake needs to be replayed. Just like you wouldn't keep trash lying around your home, you shouldn't keep toxic, useless thoughts lying around in your mental space. You have to become a conscious gatekeeper of your mind. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this memory teaching me something or just keeping me stuck? Is this worry about something I can control, or am I feeding anxiety with nothing in return? The moment you start asking these questions, you begin to clean up. You stop giving space to thoughts that drain your energy and bring no clarity. Letting go of mental clutter doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means making a decision. I will not carry what I don't need to carry. Some things are meant to be faced, learned from, and released. Others are simply noise fear, disguised as preparation, guilt disguised as responsibility, doubt disguised as humility. Learn to see the difference. You can't feel light if you're mentally hoarding everything that ever hurt, embarrassed, or confused you. You must declutter the same way you would clean out a messy room. Sort what matters, discard what doesn't, and make space for peace. And just like physical clutter, mental clutter piles up when you avoid it. So be honest with yourself. What thought loops do you keep returning to? What imagined scenarios are draining your emotional battery every day? Start letting them goon thought at a time. Peace doesn't come from figuring everything out. It comes from removing what no longer belongs. Remember, your mental space is valuable real estate. Don't rent it out to things that don't serve your growth, peace, or purpose. Chapter 3. Unplug from toxic inputs. You become what you consume. Your mind is constantly absorbing information even when you're not aware of it. Every word you hear, every video you watch, every post you scroll past leaves a mark. And just like the body becomes sick from too much junk food, your mind becomes anxious, scattered, or negative from consuming the wrong mental fuel. One of the most overlooked causes of mental exhaustion is not just what's happening inside your mind, but what's being poured into it from the outside. A true mental detox means you must pause and ask, what am I feeding my mind every single day? Think about this. You wouldn't drink dirty water or eat spoiled food without consequences, right? But every time you expose yourself to angry news cycles, mindless scrolling, toxic conversations, or fear-based content, you're doing the mental equivalent. These inputs quietly shape the way you think, feel, and even the way you speak to yourself. Over time, they normalize stress, comparison, drama, fear, and hopelessness. They plant seeds of doubt and water your insecurities. Your environment matters. If your feed is full of people showing off fake perfection, you'll feel like you're falling behind. If you're constantly hearing people complain, argue, or fear the worst, your thoughts will begin to mirror theirs. Even music, movies, and background chatter can shape your emotional frequency without you realizing it. The more you absorb chaos, the more your inner world reflects it. This is why unplugging is so important. A mental detox doesn't just involve silent sight, it involves replacing mental noise with nourishment. It's not just about shutting off the negative, but consciously choosing what to let in. Just like a good diet fuels the body, a good mental diet fuels the soul. So unplug, turn off the news for a day, mute the voices online that don't add real value to your life. Step away from people who drain your energy with gossip, fear, or judgment. It's okay to protect your peace, even if it means being less connected. Because what good is connection if it costs you your mental stability? Instead, plug into silence, into nature, into books that feed your spirit, into voices that remind you of your worth, into teachings that bring you calm instead of confusion, into people who lift your energy instead of draining it. That's how you shift your mental state, not through force, but through better input. Remember, your mind is always listening, always recording. It can't tell the difference between real danger and digital noise. So make it your job to guard that mental space. Protect it like it's the control center of your life, because it is. You become what you consume, and detoxing begins the moment you take back control of your inputs. Chapter 4. Detox from old labels. You are not who they said you were. One of the deepest forms of mental pollution doesn't come from the world, it comes from the names and narratives that were placed on you by others. As children, as teenagers, and even as adults, we are constantly being labeled. You're too sensitive. You're not smart enough. You always mess things up. You'll never change. And slowly those words stop being things we heard. They become things we believe. That's how the mental toxins begin to settle in. You start to carry these labels like invisible weights on your back. Even if you try to improve your life, something inside you whispers, "Who do you think you are?" And the saddest part is these labels are often based on someone else's fear, ignorance, or limitation, not your truth. Maybe someone couldn't handle your emotions, so they called you too much. Maybe someone envied your creativity, so they made you feel like you were weird or not serious enough. Maybe a teacher, parent, or friend saw you on one bad day and made that your identity. But here's the truth. You are not who they said you were. You are who you choose to become. And mental detox is about taking those old labels one by one and replacing them with something real, something self-chosen, something aligned with who you truly are. This process isn't easy, because the mind holds on to familiarity even if it's painful. If you've been told your whole life that you're lazy, you might start sabotaging your own success just to keep the identity consistent. If you were always seen as the strong one, you might hide your pain, convincing yourself that weakness equals failure. But none of these things are fixed. They were assigned to you, not chosen by you. And what was assigned can be unassigned. What was spoken over you can be rewritten by you. Start by identifying these labels. What names, roles, or assumptions have followed you around, like shadows? Write them down, face them, question them. Ask yourself, is this really who I am or just who I've been told I am? Then begin the work of replacing them. Replace "I'm too emotional" with "My emotions are valid and powerful." Replace "I'm a failure" with "I've made mistakes, but I'm learning and growing." Replace "I'm broken" with "I'm healing." Replace "I don't belong" with "I have the right to take up space." Your identity is not status, it's fluid. And the most powerful thing you can do for your mental well-being is to become the author of your own self-image. Stop letting the past narrate your future. Stop letting someone else's fear shape your confidence. You are not a fixed label. You are a dynamic soul with the ability to evolve, to grow, to rise. The more you hold on to outdated labels, the harder it is to hear your true voice. The real you is buried under layers of false identity. And detoxing from those identities is like peeling back those layers until you finally breathe freely again. Until you finally recognize yourself, not by what the world said, but by how you feel when you're fully aligned with your truth. Let this chapter be your permission to drop the weight, to set down the names you never chose, to walk forward, not as a reflection of their opinions, but as a reflection of your own power. Because no one gets to define your worth unless you hand them the pen. And starting today, you take it back. Chapter 5. Heal the loop. End the cycle of self-blame. There's a voice inside your mind that keeps whispering, "It's your fault." It plays like a broken record, rewinding your past mistakes, pointing fingers inward, reminding you of what you should have done differently. And even when life moves forward, that voice pulls you backward. This is the toxic loop of self-blame, and it is one of the most damaging forms of mental clutter. A real mental detox isn't complete unless you learn how to quiet this voice no by ignoring it, but by understanding it, healing it, and eventually rising above it. Self-blame often starts subtly. Maybe you make a mistake, and instead of seeing it as part of being human, you magnify it. You call yourself names. You replay the event over and over again in your head, like a movie you can't turn off. Then you start to attach your identity to your past decisions. You don't just say, "I made a mistake." You say, "I'm a failure. I ruin everything. I always mess up." These inner accusations slowly become your inner beliefs. And those beliefs begin to limit what you feel worthy of. You start shrinking your dreams. You avoid new relationships. You second-guess your every move. Not because the world is stopping you, but because you're stopping yourself. But here's the truth. Blame is not the same as accountability. Accountability says, "I did this, and I'll learn from it." Blame says, "I did this, and now I'm not worthy of peace or happiness." One leads to growth. The other leads to mental imprisonment. If you've been stuck in this cycle, know this: you don't have to earn your freedom from the past. You just have to choose it. You are allowed to forgive yourself, even if others haven't. You are allowed to learn from your mistakes without letting them define you. And most importantly, you are allowed to heal without needing permission from anyone else. Start by catching the inner critic in action. Pay attention to those moments when your thoughts begin with, "I always," "I never," "It's all my fault." These are signs that the loop is active. Pause. Breathe. Then gently ask yourself, is this thought helping me grow or just hurting me? Is it honest or is it just guilt disguised as truth? Self-forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means saying, "Yes, I made a mistake, but I am not that mistake. I am still capable of healing, loving, and becoming better." It's acknowledging your flaws without crucifying yourself for them. It's recognizing that growth is messy and no one gets it right all the time. Sometimes we hold on to blame because we think it's the only way to make things right. We believe that if we keep punishing ourselves, somehow it balances the scales. But in reality, blame doesn't fix the past, it just poisons the present. The people who love you don't want to see you stuck in shame. And even if no one else says it, you deserve to move forward. Healing the loop also involves compassion. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. You wouldn't tell your friend, "You're broken forever because of that mistake." You'd say, "You did your best. You were learning. Let's move forward together." Why can't you say that to yourself, too? Remember, the mind heals through grace, not judgment. Blame chains you to who you were. Forgiveness frees you to become who you are meant to be. And every time you choose understanding over punishment, you take a step closer to peace. This chapter is your mirror. Look into it and say, "I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. I've fallen, but I'm rising. I'm human, and that is enough." And with every breath, release a little more of the guilt that was never meant to stay. You are not here to suffer endlessly for your past. You are here to grow through it and finally live with a lighter mind and an open heart. Chapter 6. Sit with stillness, the medicine of nothing. We live in a world that worships movement. Every second must be filled with noise, activity, stimulation, or productivity. We scroll when we're bored, talk when we're anxious, work when we're sad. We run from silence as if it's something dangerous. But here's the truth, no one talks about enough. Silence isn't empty, it's healing. Stillness is not wasted time, it's sacred medicine. And if your mind is cluttered, racing, or overwhelmed, what you often need most is to do nothing and feel everything. The modern mind has been conditioned to fear stillness. We equate being still with being unproductive. We think if we're not doing something, we're falling behind. But the irony is most of our mental problems exist because we never give ourselves the time or space to process what's already inside us. We push our pain aside. We drown our feelings in distractions. We escape into screens and tasks and background noise, hoping our thoughts will settle on their own. But they don't. They multiply. That's where stillness becomes a tool of transformation. Sitting in silence, even for just 10 minutes a day, can be one of the most powerful mental detox practices you'll ever adopt. Not because it makes everything go away instantly, but because it gives the mind room to breathe, to reflect, and to let go. Stillness is not laziness. It's not about being passive. It's about being present. It's the art of sitting with yourself without judgment, without distraction, without the need to fix, achieve, or perform. It's in that space, when the noise of the world fades, that your inner wisdom starts to speak. You begin to hear the quiet truths that busyness often drowns out. You start to notice how tired you really are, how much you've been holding in, how much noise you've mistaken for reality. It's uncomfortable at first. The moment you sit in silence, your thoughts will scream for your attention. You'll feel restless. Your mind will try to pull you back into stimulation. Check your phone, make a to-do list, get up and do something useful. But if you stay still long enough, something beautiful begins to happen. The noise slows down. The fog begins to clear, and you start to feel yourself again. Stillness teaches you that peace isn't found in controlling everything around you. It's found in accepting the moment exactly as it is. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't even have to think positive. You just have to be here, right now, and breathe. That's where your power returns. This practice can be as simple as sitting by a window and watching the sky, or lying on the floor and focusing on your breath, or closing your eyes for 5 minutes and listening to the silence between your thoughts. These are not meaningless acts, they are spiritual recalibrations. They cleanse your mental space the way deep sleep cleanses the body. And stillness isn't just for healing, it's for remembering. In the quiet, you remember who you are beneath the stress, beneath the fear, beneath the performance. You remember that you don't have to chase anything to be worthy, that you are already enough, that your mind isn't something to fight, it's something to care for, to sit with, and to gently bring back to center. So make stillness a daily ritual, not a once-in-a-while escape, but a regular practice, a mental bath, a sacred pause, a meeting with yourself. In a world that constantly demands your attention, stillness is how you reclaim it. It's how you detox not just from information overload, but from the illusion that your worth depends on constant motion. Let the world rush around you, let the noise swirl, but inside become still. And in that stillness, you'll find clarity, peace, truth, and a version of yourself that isn't exhausted but awake. Chapter 7. Anchor in Peace. Create daily rituals that cleanse your mind. Your mind doesn't just need occasional silence or temporary breaks, it needs daily rituals, just like the body needs water, rest, and movement to stay healthy. Your mind needs consistent care. You can't expect clarity if your daily habits invite chaos. You can't detox once and expect your peace to last forever. The real mental reset happens when you build small, meaningful practices that anchor you in peace, no matter what the world throws at you. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't water it regularly, weeds of anxiety, comparison, and fear will grow back fast. This is why daily rituals are not optional luxuries. They are mental hygiene. They are emotional anchors. They are spiritual lifelines. And they don't have to be complex or time-consuming. In fact, the most powerful ones are often the simplest, done with intention and consistency. Start with your morning. How you begin your day sets the tone for how your mind functions. Before reaching for your phone, try reaching for silence. Sit quietly for a few moments. Breathe, stretch. Express one sentence of gratitude, even if it's as simple as, "I'm thankful I woke up today." This tiny pause rewires your brain from reactivity to mindfulness. It reminds your mind that it doesn't have to sprint into the day, it can walk with grace. Throughout the day, you can build micro-rituals, moments of recalibration. For example, each time you wash your hands, take a deep breath and imagine washing away a stressful thought. When you eat slowly, tasting your food, grounding yourself in the present. Before entering a stressful environment, whether it's work, traffic, or even social media, pause and set an intention. I bring calm into this space, not chaos. One of the most powerful mental detox tools is the evening ritual. Many people go to bed carrying the emotional weight of the entire day. Their bodies sleep, but their minds don't. That's why a mental cleanse at night is essential. Take time to disconnect. Light a candle. Put your phone away an hour before sleep. Journal your thoughts, dump every lingering worry or regret onto paper, so your mind doesn't have to hold it. You can even speak to yourself gently. It's okay to rest now. I've done enough. I am enough. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a personal rhythm. Find what works for you. For some, it's prayer. For others, it's meditation, walking in nature, or reading a few pages of a soul-nourishing book. What matters is not the form, it's the intention behind the practice. Your rituals should remind you daily that you are in control of your inner world, no matter how loud the outside becomes. These rituals also become your anchor during storms. When life gets overwhelming, because it will, your mind will want to panic, react, or spiral. But if you've built a daily rhythm of peace, your nervous system knows how to come back. Your breath becomes your safe space. Your journal becomes your reflection point. Your body remembers what it feels like to slow down. And over time, these tiny practices create massive change. Not overnight, but steadily. You become less reactive, less anxious, more grounded, more aware. Because you're no longer living on autopilot, you're living with awareness. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're intentionally responding to it. A mental detox is not just about removing what's toxic, it's about replacing it with what's nourishing. And nothing nourishes the mind more than sacred, soulful habits that reconnect you to the present moment. So don't wait for peace to find you in the chaos. Create it daily. Choose it repeatedly. Let your life be shaped not by random thoughts, but by chosen rituals. Because peace isn't a destination, it's a practice. And the more you return to it, the stronger your foundation becomes. One small ritual at a time, you build a mind that feels like home. Calm, clear, centered, and truly free. Chapter 8. Rewire the pattern. Teach your mind a new way to think. If you've ever wondered why the same negative thoughts keep coming back, why, no matter how hard you try, your mind still leans towards self-doubt, fear, or worst-case scenarios, it's because your brain is following a pattern. Not because you're broken, not because you're weak, but because your mind is doing what it was trained to do. Over the years, Your brain has been conditioned by experiences, pain, criticism, survival modato, follow certain mental loops. And just like a muscle that gets stronger with use, the more you repeat those thought patterns, the more automatic they become. This is why a true mental detox goes beyond temporary relief. It's not enough to remove a few toxic thoughts and feel better for a day. If you want lasting peace, you must go deeper. You must rewire the pattern. You must teach your mind a completely new way to think, to respond, and to interpret the world around you. Let's break this down simply. Your brain is made up of neural pathways. These are like roads, and every time you think a thought, you strengthen the road it travels on. If you've been telling yourself for years that you're not good enough, your brain has built a fast, smooth highway for that thought. It gets triggered quickly and runs on autopilot. Meanwhile, thoughts like "I am worthy" or "I trust myself" might be overgrown dirt paths, unused and unfamiliar. They're harder to travel not because they're untrue, but because they haven't been repeated enough to become natural. So how do we rewire the pattern? We begin by catching the old roads as they try to pull us in. You must become hyper-aware of your most common negative thoughts. Not to judge them, not to suppress them, but to observe them like a detective. Where do they come from? Whose voice do they sound like? How do they make you feel? And how often do they show up? Maybe your mind says, "Nothing ever works out for me." Pause. Don't argue. Don't obey. Just notice it. This is the old pattern talking. Now, gently challenge it. Is that true, or is it just a habit? Then, give yourself a new thought to practice, even if it feels awkward. Things may not be perfect, but I am learning, growing, and making progress. Say it again, and again, not once, not twice, but daily. This is the power of repetition. Your mind doesn't believe what's true, it believes what's familiar. So if you want to create a healthier mental environment, you must choose thoughts that bring you peace and repeat them enough times to become your brain's new default. This isn't fake positivity. It's mental training. It's deciding that you're no longer available for thoughts that disrespect your peace. It's refusing to let pain write your mental programming. Rewiring also means paying attention to how you speak to yourself. Language is powerful. When you say, "I can't handle this," your body hears you and starts to panic. But when you say, "This is hard, but I'm doing my best," your body softens. When you say, "I'm a mess," your nervous system tightens. But when you say, "I'm healing," your mind shifts towards self-compassion. Your words are not just descriptions, they are commands your brain follows. So make a conscious decision to upgrade your inner dialogue. Replace "I'm stuck" with "I'm in a season of rebuilding." Replace "I always mess things up" with "I've made mistakes, but I'm growing through them." The more you speak this way, the more your brain begins to rewire. Another powerful tool in this process is visualization. Close your eyes and imagine the kind of person you want to become, not just how they look, but how they think, how they talk to themselves when they fail, how they wake up in the morning, how they treat others. Now ask yourself, what kind of thoughts does this version of me think? And begin to practice those thoughts, even before you fully feel them. Because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, it just follows the story you keep repeating. And remember, rewiring is not a one-time shift, it's a process. You don't reprogram years of mental conditioning in a day. There will be moments when the old patterns feel stronger, when fear tries to convince you that change isn't possible, when you fall back into the same loops that once defined you. But that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're healing. And every time you catch yourself and choose differently, you are breaking the old road and building a new one. Over time, your new mental patterns will start to feel natural. You'll wake up and feel calm without trying. You'll face uncertainty and default to curiosity, not panic. You'll speak to yourself with kindness, not cruelty. Not because life got easier, but because your mind became stronger. You'll stop reacting to life from your wounds and start responding from your wisdom. That's the goal of this chapter. To remind you that you're not at the mercy of your thoughts. You're not trapped by your past beliefs. You have the power to teach your mind a new way to think, a way that serves your peace, honors your growth, and reflects the truth of who you are. So start today. Catch the old patterns, interrupt them, speak new words, practice new thoughts, visualize your higher self, and repeat again and again, until one day you'll look in the mirror and realize you didn't just detox your mind, you redesigned it. And now it finally feels like home, a mind that supports you, a mind that respects you, a mind that you've taught to be your greatest ally instead of your harshest enemy. That is the power of rewiring. That is how you reset your thoughts for a fresh start from the inside out. Chapter 9. Make peace with the present. Stop fighting what's already here. One of the most common forms of mental suffering comes from this silent battle inside your head, a battle against what is. You don't like where you are in life. You wish things were different. You replay past events, wishing you had chosen differently. You imagine futures that haven't arrived, hoping they'll rescue you from what you feel right now. And all the while, your mind is split on part in regret, the other in fantasy rarely ever here, in the only place that life actually exists, the present moment. This constant resistance to the now creates a storm of emotional tension. It fuels anxiety, anger, and dissatisfaction. It makes you feel like something is always missing, like peace is always just one accomplishment, one change, one moment away. And this illusion becomes your prison. But if you want to truly detox your mind and reset your thoughts for a fresh start, you must learn this simple truth. Peace begins the moment you stop fighting the present. That doesn't mean you have to like everything that's happening. It doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means that you stop treating this moment like an enemy. You stop arguing with reality. You stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening," because the truth is it already is. And the more you resist it, the more power it gains over your mental state. Making peace with the present doesn't mean giving up your dreams or abandoning change. It means accepting this exact moment as your starting point, not your end, not your punishment, but your foundation. From here, real change can begin. From here, your mind becomes a partner in your healing, not a battlefield of avoidance and denial. Think of it like standing in a river. The more you try to swim against the current, the more exhausted you become. But when you stop resisting and begin to float with awareness, you start to move with grace. The current of life is always flowing. You can't control it, but you can choose how you meet it. Start by noticing your most common thought patterns about the present. Do you say, "I hate this job," "I can't stand this feeling," "I should be further ahead," or "This isn't fair"? These thoughts aren't just harmless complaints. They are signals of resistance. They keep your mind locked in dissatisfaction. And over time, this dissatisfaction turns into mental toxicity. So what can you do? You begin by acknowledging the moment without judgment. If you feel sadlet, yourself feel it. Don't rush to fix it. Don't shame yourself. Just say, "This is sadness." And that's okay. If you're stuck in a situation you don't like, instead of mentally running from it, ask yourself, "What is this teaching me? How can I respond differently from within?" That shift from rejection to curiosity changes everything. It turns resistance into understanding, and understanding opens the door to peace. Another powerful practice is gratitude, the forced, fake kind. but the kind that gently shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. Even in chaos, there are small gifts. The breath you're taking, the strength that brought you this far, the quiet resilience you never give yourself credit for. When you notice these things, your mind begins to calm down. It stops screaming for more. It settles into what is. Presence is also found in the body. Your mind may time travel, but your body is always here. When you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, ground yourself physically. Feel your feet on the floor. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and take a slow, intentional breath. These tiny rituals bring your awareness back to the moment and remind your nervous system that it's safe to be here. Many people think that peace will arrive after their circumstances change. But the truth is, your circumstances are constantly changing, and yet, without inner presence, the mind remains chaotic. That's because peace is not found in perfection, it's found in presence. When you fully accept where you are, even if it's not ideal, even if it hurts, something incredible happens. Your energy stops being scattered. You stop pouring mental fuel into fantasy, regret, and resistance. And in that space, new clarity emerges. You begin to see the next step, not 10 steps ahead, just the next one. And that's all you ever need. Making peace with the present also means giving yourself permission to pause. In this world, there's so much pressure to always be becoming, achieving, proving. But what if you could simply be? What if you could exist in this moment without needing to justify it, improve it, or run from it? What if the greatest transformation begins not when you change everything, but when you become deeply, unshakably present with what already is? That kind of presence is rare. It's not passive, it's powerful. It says, I may not like this moment, but I accept it. I trust that I can grow from here. I trust that peace is possible right now, not just someday. This is what mental detox is all about. It's not just about removing negativity. It's about removing your resistance to reality. It's about releasing the inner fight. And from that release, a deep, still joy can rise that isn't shaken by every little thing, one that doesn't need everything to be perfect to feel okay. So take this moment right here, right now, and breathe into it fully. Don't run, don't scroll, don't search for something better. Just be here, look around, feel the ground beneath you. Feel the breath inside you. This moment is not your enemy. It's your home. It's your starting point. It's the only place you can ever truly live. And in this moment, you have everything you need to begin again. This is how you heal. This is how you let go. This is how you come back to yourself. Not in the future, not in the past, but right here in the present, where peace has been waiting for you all along. Chapter 10. Reclaim your mental territory. You are the gatekeeper of your inner world. There's a powerful truth that most people never fully realize. You are the owner of your mind, not its prisoner. Your thoughts don't have the final say, you do. But when you've spent years absorbing negativity, chasing validation, and letting external chaos shape your internal peace, it's easy to forget that your mind is your territory. And just like any sacred place, it must be protected, nurtured, and restored. A true mental detox isn't just about releasing bad thoughts or calming anxiety. It's about taking back ownership of the one space that defines how you experience everything, your inner world. And reclaiming your mental territory is the final, most important step. Because once you remember your power, you stop letting the world live rent-free in your head. You stop letting fear rearrange your priorities. You stop giving your energy to people and problems that don't deserve it. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Most of us were never taught how to manage our minds. We were taught how to react, how to conform, how to cope. But no one sat us down and said, "Hey, You get to choose what thoughts stay. You get to filter what enters. You get to decide how much access the world has to your peace. So we grew up believing that thoughts are just things that happen to us, that emotions are forces we can't control, that anxiety is just part of life. And slowly, we abandoned the very gate we were meant to guard. So the question becomes, how do you reclaim it? How do you take back ownership of your mind when it's been invaded by doubt, fear, distraction, and emotional exhaustion? It starts with awareness. You cannot change what you don't recognize. So step one is to become brutally honest about what currently lives in your mental space. What beliefs do you carry about yourself? What stories are on repeat in your head every day? Whose voices are the loudest? And are those voices lifting you or limiting you? Take inventory. Are you holding on to someone else's opinion of you? Are you obsessing over things that are out of your control? Are you replaying failures and predicting worst-case scenarios like a habit? If so, don't shame yourself. Simply observe. This is how you start to reclaim. You step out of autopilot and step into conscious ownership. The next step is to rebuild your boundaries. Most people think of boundaries as something you set with others, but the most important boundaries are the ones you set with your own mind. That means learning to say, I don't have to believe every fearful thought. I don't owe my energy to every distraction. Just because my mind is loud doesn't mean it's telling the truth. You must learn how to close the door to toxic narratives, to imagined futures, to the past that keeps knocking. Your peace is not public property. Not everything gets to come in. Not everything deserves a seat at the table of your attention. Reclaiming your mental territory also means consciously choosing your focus. The human mind is like a flashlight. It only sees what you point it at. And if you're always pointing it at what's wrong, what's missing, and what hurts, then of course your experience will be heavy. But when you intentionally redirect that light toward what's good, what's working, what you're grateful for, then, in small ways you start to reshape your inner landscape, not through denial, not through fake positivity, but through deliberate focus. Your attention is one of the most powerful forces in your life. And yet, most people give it away freely to notifications, to drama, to things that will not matter a year from now. But your attention is sacred. It is the currency of your inner peace, and you must spend it wisely. Another key to reclaiming your mental space is identity. Who do you believe you are at your core? Because that belief silently controls how you think, speak, and react. If deep down you believe you're not enough, your mind will constantly seek proof of that belief. You'll filter the world through that wound. But if you begin to shift your identity even slightly to something truer, something higher, your mind will adjust. It will begin to build around that new foundation. Try saying this: I am not my pain. I am not my past. I am not my worst moment. I am something deeper, wiser, and more resilient. When you claim a new identity, you build a new mental homeon, rooted not in fear, but in inner authority. Let's talk about mental hygiene too. Just like brushing your teeth keeps your mouth clean, daily habits keep your mind clean. You wouldn't go a week without showering. So why let your mind go unwashed for days? Reclaiming your mind means developing a daily rhythm of reflection, stillness, and intentional thought. Here are a few powerful tools. Morning intentions. Before you face the world, face your mind. Speak something kind. Ground your energy. Set a tone. Evening purges. Dump your thoughts into a journal or quietly reflect. Don't sleep with mental noise, release it first. Breath resets. Pause during the day. Breathe in peace. Breathe out stress. 1 minute of this can shift your whole perspective. Truth statements. Replace old lies with chosen truths. Speak them aloud until your mind begins to believe them again. And perhaps most importantly, practice non-attachment. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every thought needs a response. You don't need to fight every mental storm. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is watch it pass without getting pulled in. Your power is not in control, it's in awareness. The old you may have reacted to everything, but the new you chooses what matters. The new you understands that mental detox is not a weekend activity, it's a lifelong mindset. A way of living where your thoughts are aligned with your values. Where your inner world reflects the strength, clarity, and peace you've always had but maybe forgot how to access. You reclaim your mental territory not through force but through love. Love for your time, love for your energy, love for your inner space. You begin to treat your mind like a temple, not a storage closet. And slowly, the clutter disappears, the noise fades, the anxiety lifts, and you find yourself standing in a space that feels safe, strong, and fully yours. This is what it means to reset your thoughts. This is what it means to begin again, not from scratch, but from power. So today, take back the key. Re-enter your mind, not as a guest, but as its rightful owner. Close the door to anything that no longer belongs. Open the window to what brings clarity, truth, and healing. And plant something new, something lasting. Because this is your space. And it's time to make it beautiful again. Chapter 11. Break the mental loop. Step out of survival and into conscious living. There's a quiet pattern that controls the lives of millions of people without them even realizing it. A loop, a mental cycle. Wake up, feel stressed, rush through the day, carry invisible pressure, drown in noise, collapse at night, repeat. You do what needs to be done, but you don't feel alive. You smile, but inside you're heavy. You move, but you're not really here. Your mind is always running, but never arriving. This is what happens when your life becomes a survival loop. And unless you recognize it, you'll mistake this constant tension for normal. Mental detox is not just about calming your thoughts, it's about interrupting the cycle that keeps you trapped. The loop is sneaky. It convinces you that urgency equals importance. That being overwhelmed means you're being productive. That you have to keep pushing or everything will fall apart. But what's really falling apart is you. Let's start by identifying what the mental loop feels like. It often begins the moment you open your eyes. A rush of thoughts floods in. What did I forget? What's waiting for me today? I'm already behind. I can't mess this up. Before your feet even hit the floor, your nervous system is already activated. You're bracing yourself for a war that hasn't even begun. You check your phone for dopamine. You jump into tasks. You run on caffeine, deadlines, obligations. You keep telling yourself, I'll rest later, I'll breathe later, I just need to get through today. But then tomorrow arrives, and the loop resets. This is not living. This is surviving. And the longer you stay in survival mode, the more disconnected you become from your body, your peace, your relationships, your purpose. You begin to forget what joy feels like. You forget how to be still. You forget that you have a choice. That's the root of the loop, forgetting your power. To step out of the mental loop, you have to pause. You have to interrupt the momentum of your automatic thoughts. You have to become radically present, even if just for a moment. Because that one moment of stillness, of awareness, becomes the key that unlocks a new reality. Start with this question: am I living right now or just reacting? If you're honest, you'll often find that you're reacting to expectations, to fear, to past pain, to unspoken pressure. Your mind has been trained to scan for what's wrong, to prepare for the worst, to hustle for worthiness. But conscious living begins when you retrain your mind to slow down and choose instead of react. You choose your thoughts. You choose your pace. You choose what deserves your attention. Imagine what it would feel like to wake up and not immediately grab your phone, to sit in silence for 5 minutes and actually check in with your soul before you check the world, to feel your breath instead of your notifications. That's how the loop begins to break, not through massive changes, but through intentional moments of presence. You also have to stop glorifying stress. Many people wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor. They confuse being busy with being valuable. But your worth is not measured by your productivity. You are not here to burn out just to prove that you're trying. You are not here to constantly survive while pretending to thrive. You are here to live deeply and consciously in a way that nourishes your mind instead of drains it. One of the most important tools for breaking the loop is mindful interruption. Throughout the day, set small mental checkpoints. Ask yourself, am I breathing deeply or shallow? Am I tensed up or relaxed? Am I doing this from fear or from clarity? These checkpoints create space in your mind. They give you the power to step out of autopilot and return to the driver's seat. Another way to step out of survival mode is to stop multitasking your life. Your brain is not designed to process 5 different sources of stimulation at once. When you eat, eat. When you talk to someone, be fully present. When you rest, actually rest. These aren't small acts, they are revolutionary in a world addicted to speed. And let's not forget the role of self-talk. Survival mode is filled with inner voices like, keep going, don't stop, don't be weak, you don't have time for this. But conscious living replaces those voices with, I deserve to pause, I am safe to breathe. Nothing is more important than my peace right now. This new dialogue rewires your nervous system. It teaches your body that rest is not laziness, it's healing. That stillness is not emptiness, it's power. That presence is not a waste of time, it's the only time that truly exists. Stepping out of the loop also means setting new boundaries with the world and with yourself. You have to be willing to say, I will no longer carry what isn't mine. I will not sacrifice my mental health for approval. I don't need to earn rest, I was born worthy of it. These aren't just affirmations, they are reclaiming tools. They protect your mental territory. They stop you from falling back into the loop when pressure tries to pull you in. Let's be clear. Breaking the loop doesn't mean your life becomes perfectly peaceful overnight. The world will still demand, people will still expect, stress will still knock on your door. But the difference is, you won't open it automatically anymore. You'll pause. Breathe, choose. You'll start living from the inside out, not the outside in. You'll begin to recognize that your mind is not meant to be a battlefield, it's meant to be a sanctuary. And every time you return to the present moment, you reinforce that truth. This is how real change happens, not through willpower alone, but through awareness and alignment. You align your thoughts with your values. You align your habits with your peace. You align your choices with your inner truth, and from that alignment, the old loop loses power. So today, make a different choice. Not a big one, just a mindful one. Wake up slower, speak to yourself softer, do one thing at a time, breathe like it matters, pause like it's holy. Walk through your day as if your peace is non-negotiable because it is. This is how you reset. This is how you break the loop, not by escaping life, but by reclaiming how you meet it. Because you were never meant to live in survival forever. You were born to live awake. And that journey begins now. Chapter 12. Build a new mental home. Choose thoughts that feel like safety. After the noise has been silenced, the clutter removed, and the patterns rewired, what remains? A quiet space, a blank slate, an open mind. This is the most sacred part of your mental detox journey, the moment you're no longer just clearing out the old, but finally ready to build something new. And what you build here matters deeply, because your mind isn't just a place for thoughts, it's the home where your life begins. And you deserve to live in a mind that feels like peace, like clarity, like safety. Most people don't realize that they've spent years, sometimes decades, living inside a mental space that was never designed for comfort. A space built from fear, trauma, criticism, and survival. A mental home made up of harsh self-talk, constant pressure, and expectations that weren't even their own. And the saddest part? They call this home, they defend it, they normalize it, because it's familiar. But familiarity doesn't mean healthy. Just because you've lived with these thoughts for a long time doesn't mean you're supposed to stay there. So what does it mean to build a new mental home? It means you take full responsibility for what you allow in. You choose your thoughts the way you'd choose furniture for your dream house. If a belief doesn't bring comfort, strength, or purpose, it doesn't belong. You don't entertain thoughts that belittle you. You don't let uninvited criticism live rent-free in your head. You don't keep painful memories in the center of the room. You place them in the past, where they belong, and redecorate your present with thoughts that support your healing. This is not about pretending life is perfect. It's about deciding to make your inner world a place where growth can happen without shame, where mistakes are seen as teachers, not punishers, where self-talk sounds like a best friend, not a bully, where even in hard moments you can return to yourself and feel safe. Ask yourself, what thoughts do I want to wake up to every morning? What beliefs do I want to rest my head on every night? What kind of emotional atmosphere do I want to live? In urgency, fear, pressure, or peace, patience, and purpose? When you build a new mental home, you're not just rearranging old thoughts. You're choosing a new standard. You're saying, I deserve to live in a mind that feels like support, not sabotage. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by building mental rituals of safety. Think of them as emotional anchor, simple habits that make your mind feel steady when the world feels overwhelming. Here are a few to begin with. The morning foundation. Instead of letting your first thoughts be anxious or reactive, begin each day with grounding. Sit up, place your hand over your heart, and remind yourself, today I choose peace. I don't have to rush. I don't have to prove. I just have to be. Midday mindfulness. Pause in the middle of your day not to check your phone, but to check your mind. Ask, am I still living from my center, or have I been pulled into noise? Recenter with one slow breath and one kind thought. Evening release. Before bed, empty the mind gently. Write down your worries. Speak your gratitude. Give yourself permission to let go of what didn't get done. Tell yourself, I am safe to rest. My peace is not earned, it's claimed. These rituals aren't grand, but they're powerful. They create a rhythm. They make safety a habit, not a hope. Another important step in building your new mental home is learning to sit with your emotions without labeling them as problems. In your old mental space, you may have been taught to fear sadness, ignore anger, or hide vulnerability. But your emotions are not intruders, they're messengers. When you feel anxious, your mind might be saying, I need grounding. When you feel sad, maybe it's saying, I need to let something go. When you feel overwhelmed, perhaps it's saying, I've taken on too much that doesn't belong to me. A peaceful mind isn't one that never feels pain, it's one that knows how to hold pain with compassion. When you build that kind of home inside your head, you become unshakable. You stop being afraid of what you feel. You stop running from discomfort. You start listening to yourself not with panic, but with presence. You must also learn the art of selective focus. Just like a beautiful home doesn't display garbage in the living room, your mind shouldn't display every negative possibility front and center. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to decorate your thoughts with fear. Yes, acknowledge what needs your attention, but don't give the worst-case scenario a spotlight. Instead, give energy to your next small step, to what's in your control, to the opportunities quietly sitting behind the noise. As you rebuild your mind, be careful of what you consume. Not just food and media, but words, people, and environments. If you want your mental home to feel safe, you can't keep inviting chaos inside. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less than. Distance yourself from conversations that make you anxious. Spend more time with what nourishes your spirit. Your mental health is not just a personal matter, it's a relational one. What surrounds you will slowly shape what's within you. And lastly, be patient. You don't build a home in a day, and you won't rebuild your mind in a weekend. But every time you catch a harmful thought and replace it with something kinder, you're laying a new brick. Every time you pause to breathe instead of panic, you're painting a new wall. Every time you speak to yourself with love, when you want to give up, you're adding strength to the foundation. And before you know it, this new mental space you've created will feel different. You'll notice it in small ways first. You'll wake up with less dread. You'll respond to setbacks with more grace. You'll enjoy your own company more than before. You'll stop letting your thoughts bully you. You'll feel safe not because life is perfect, but because you've made your mind a safe place to land. This is what it means to truly start fresh, to not only clear the past, but to create something beautiful in its place. A mind that supports you, a heart that forgives you, a space inside yourself that always welcomes you home. Because no matter where you go, your mind is your constant companion, so let it be a place of comfort, a place of truth, a place of peace. You've cleaned it, you've healed it. Now build it with care. This is your new mental home. Live in it like you deserve to be here, because you do. Chapter 13. The Power of Mental Minimalism. Strip away the excess and find what's real. In a world that's constantly shouting for your attention, where every screen flashes a new message, every moment feels urgent, and every decision carries invisible pressure, it's no wonder your mind feels full, even when your life doesn't. We are living in a time of mental excess. Too many opinions, too much noise, too many expectations, and slowly, silently, it becomes too much for the mind to carry. That's why the final and perhaps most liberating phase of your mental detox journey is not about adding more habits, more motivation, more hacks. It's about letting go radically and intentionally. It's about embracing the practice of mental minimalism. Mental minimalism is not just about reducing thoughts. It's about clearing space so you can finally see what matters. It's about stripping away the clutter of unimportant thoughts, toxic narratives, and emotional baggage so that your mind no longer feels like a battlefield but like a quiet, open room where clarity lives. This chapter is your invitation to stop carrying what isn't yours, to stop filling every quiet moment with noise, and to stop thinking your way into confusion when silence holds the answers. Let's begin with a simple truth. You don't need more thoughts, you need better space between them. Your mind is not meant to run endlessly without pause. Just like your muscles need rest between reps, your brain needs mental space to breathe. But if every pause in your life is instantly filled with scrolling, worrying, planning, or comparing, you're not giving your mind space to digest anything. And just like overeating leaves the body bloated, overthinking leaves the mind heavy and slow. So what's the first step in mental minimalism? It's this. Ask what's essential. Not everything you think is necessary. Not every thought is useful. In fact, most of your mental exhaustion doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from thinking too much about things that don't move you forward. Ask yourself, do I really need to keep replaying this conversation? Is this worry helping me take action? or is it just draining me? Is this judgment of myself or others making me wiser or just more bitter? Is this guilt teaching me something or keeping me stuck? When you start filtering your thoughts through the lens of usefulness, you begin to see how much mental junk you've been storing. And just like cleaning out a cluttered room, you may feel resistance at first because even junk feels familiar. But once it's gone, you'll wonder how you ever lived with so much noise. Mental minimalism also means detaching from the need to fix everything. Many people confuse growth with obsession. They believe they must constantly fix every flaw, analyze every emotion, and control every outcome to become better. But true inner peace comes not from fixing, but from flowing, trusting that not everything needs to be figured out today. Some things resolve themselves when you stop interfering. Some answers appear only when you stop demanding them. Some healing happens quietly when you finally leave the wound alone. Minimalism in the mind creates space for this kind of peace. Another practice of mental minimalism is intentional focus. The minimalist mind doesn't multitask 10 problems at once. It chooses one thing, gives it presence, and lets the rest wait. This means choosing your mental priorities the way you choose what you wear, intentionally, consciously, based on what supports you today. For example, if you're overwhelmed by the future, choose to focus only on today's breath. If you're torn between two decisions, focus only on clarifying your values first. If your mind is spinning with 100 doubts, choose to write down the top 3, then address them slowly. This focused awareness doesn't make problems disappear, but it makes them manageable. It quiets the noise of everything at once and brings you into the stillness of one thing at a time. Mental minimalism also invites you to simplify your inner dialogue. If your thoughts were sentences written on paper, how many would be cluttered, self-critical, or chaotic? How many would just be repeated loops with no direction? Try this. Speak to yourself as if you were editing a story. Remove the fluff, remove the drama, remove the exaggerations. Reduce a thought like, I always screw everything up and people probably think I'm a failure, and I don't know how to fix anything in my life, and I'm just stuck forever. To something clear and honest. I'm struggling today, but I'm still learning. This kind of inner editing is a minimalist's superpower. It returns your mind to truth, and truth is always simpler than fear makes it out to be. A powerful question you can ask throughout the day is, what can I let go of right now? Not forever. Just right now. Let go of trying to win every argument in your head. Let go of checking something again just to feel safe. Let go of the need to explain your worth to anyone. Let go of rehearsing failure before it happens. Minimalism says, if it's not helping me breathe better or think clearer, it doesn't need to stay. Even relationships in your mental space deserve this lens. Not every person you've encountered needs to live in your thoughts daily. If someone hurt you in the past, you don't need to keep them alive in the guest room of your mind. Forgiveness, in many cases, is just mental decluttering. It's not saying, what happened was okay. It's saying, I don't need to carry this anymore. Now, let's talk about what mental minimalism isn't. It's not avoidance. It's not pretending life is perfect. It's not pushing away hard feelings. It's about creating space around those feelings so they don't consume you. It's about saying, yes, I feel this, but this doesn't define all of me. I can feel and still be free. It's not rigid control. In fact, minimalism in the mind is deeply flexible. It lets you change directions when something no longer serves your peace. It frees you from the mental clutter of, I should, and gives you the clarity of, what's real for me now. And it's not silence out of fear, it's silence by choice. The silence of a mind that doesn't feel the need to react to everything. A mind that has nothing to prove. A mind that knows peace is louder than panic, just quieter in volume. As you practice mental minimalism, your life begins to change in quiet, powerful ways. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand. You'll stop forcing things that were never aligned to begin with. You'll stop chasing 100 goals and start walking toward one meaningful one. You'll begin to enjoy the present, not because everything is perfect, but because your mind is finally quiet enough to notice it. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you'll feel like you're not drowning in your own head. You'll feel like you can hear your own voice again, like you're not just surviving your thoughts, but shaping them. That's the gift of minimalism. It doesn't add, it clears. It doesn't push, it frees. It doesn't demand, it listens. And from that place, everything becomes lighter. Every breath becomes deeper. Every thought becomes simpler. Not because life got easier, but because your mind finally stopped making it harder. So as you move forward in this new season of clarity, keep asking, is this thought necessary? Is this story true? Is this fear worth keeping? Is this mine ear? Did I pick it up from someone else? Keep returning to the simplicity of what's real. Keep making space for stillness. Keep curating your mind like your peace depends on it, because it does. And in that minimalist mental space, you'll find something beautiful. Not perfection, not control, but freedom. Freedom to feel. Freedom to choose. Freedom to live with a mind that finally feels clear, open, and yours. That's not just a detox. That's a new beginning. Chapter 14. From Noise to Wisdom. Transform mental chaos into inner clarity. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise in their mind becomes unbearable. You try to stay strong, but the endless stream of thoughts, judgments, regrets, fears, expectations, and self-doubt becomes too loud. You start to wonder, is this how it's always going to be? Every moment of silence gets filled with inner chatter. Every pause becomes a battleground. You lie awake at night thinking about things you can't change and wake up already worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. This is mental chaos, and it's not just tiring, it's disorienting. It pulls you away from your truth. It clouds your decision-making. It drains your energy. But what if this chaos wasn't a curse, but a sign? What if the noise wasn't proof that you're broken, but a signal that it's time to transform? Because underneath all that mental clutter is something sacred, something ancient, your wisdom. And wisdom isn't loud. It speaks quietly from the stillness that lives beneath the storm. This chapter is about learning how to descend through the noisato, stop resisting your thoughts, and instead move through them like a diver swimming into deeper, quieter waters. It's about realizing that clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, it comes from listening deeper, from softening your mind, from trusting your inner knowing, from letting wisdom, not fear, be the voice that leads you. Let's begin with something important. Mental chaos is often a result of unprocessed experience. Most people don't have chaotic minds because they're weak. They have chaotic minds because they've never been taught how to digest life. You go through pain, loss, rejection, uncertainty, and instead of having a safe space to feel and integrate those emotions, you push them down. You distract yourself. You keep moving. But emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them, they go underground. And when enough of them pile up without being felt, they start leaking into your thoughts. They turn into anxiety, confusion, frustration, overthinking. The noise gets louder because the pain has nowhere to go. So the first step to turning noise into wisdom is simple but powerful. Feel what you've been avoiding. Take a moment. Ask yourself, what am I carrying that I've never given space to feel? What truth have I been afraid to admit, even to myself? What emotion is living under this chaos? Grief, anger, shame, fear. Don't try to fix it right away. Just feel it. Breathe through it. Name it gently. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because the moment you bring light to something you've buried, it begins to soften. It loses its grip, and the noise begins to fade. The second step is to practice mental presence over mental performance. So much of our noise comes from trying to be perfect in our planning, our image, our past, our future. We keep thinking, if I can just figure everything out in my head, then I'll be okay. But life doesn't work that way. Wisdom doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. It comes from being here, in this moment, even if this moment is messy, even if you don't have the answers yet. Try this. Instead of asking, what should I think about next? Ask, what is this moment asking from me right now? That simple shift pulls you out of mental loops and into grounded awareness. Suddenly you're not spinning through 100 thoughts. You're just breathing, just sitting. Just noticing the way your chest rises and falls, the way the air feels on your skin, the way a deeper part of you feels okay despite the noise. That's the part you're trying to return to. That's the place where wisdom lives. Another way to transform mental chaos is through the practice of inner inquiry. Instead of letting your thoughts run wild, slow them down by asking deeper questions. Is this thought truer, just familiar? Is this fear minier? Did I inherit it from someone else? What is this thought trying to protect me from? If I believed I was already safe, how would I think differently right now? These questions don't silence the mind. They guide it. They create a gentle, structured way of redirecting the noise toward meaning. And when your thoughts are allowed to move toward meaning instead of madness, they start to relax. They stop spinning and start unfolding. Let's also talk about compassion, because wisdom can't rise in a mind that's always attacking itself. If every time you feel confused, your mind says, "You're so stupid," or every time you're anxious, your mind says, "You're weak," you're not creating space for clarity. You're creating more noise. Mental chaos often comes from the belief that you shouldn't feel what you're feeling, that you should already have it together, that you're falling behind. But what if none of that is true? What if feeling overwhelmed is a sign of your growth? What if your confusion is the doorway to a deeper understanding? What if you're not failing, you're transitioning? When you speak to yourself with compassion, your nervous system begins to calm, and when the body calms, the mind follows. Suddenly, you can hear your inner wisdom again. Not because it just appeared, but because you finally stopped yelling over it. And finally, to turn mental chaos into clarity, you must return to stillness as a daily ritual. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about being fully present with what is, without judgment, without expectation. Even if your mind is still noisy, you can sit in silence. And in that silence, the noise begins to unravel. Your thoughts untangle themselves. Your emotions breathe. And little by little, space opens up inside you. You begin to hear your own truth again. You begin to realize that not every thought deserves a response. Not every worry deserves attention. Not every fear is a prophecy. You start to see the pattern beneath the panic. You start to sense the root beneath the reaction, and you begin to reclaim a powerful truth. You are not the chaos. You are the clarity beneath it. It was always there, you just forgot how to access it. So here's how you keep returning. Start your mornings with silence, not screens. Let the day meet your soul before your phone. End your nights with presence, not pressure. Let your body exhale before you try to sleep. Throughout the day, pause and ask, is this noisier? Is this wisdom? If it's noise, let it go. If it's wisdom, lean in. And always, always speak to yourself like someone worth listening to, because you are. This is what it means to turn mental chaos into clarity. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to earn it. You just have to remove what's in the way. And most of the time, what's in the way is not life. It's the way you've been taught to think about life. But now you know better. Now you know that peace doesn't mean no thoughts, it means knowing which ones to trust. That healing doesn't mean silence, it means choosing which voices you listen to. That clarity doesn't come from effort, it comes from space. And in that space, your inner wisdom has been waiting all along. Welcome back. Chapter 15. Live light. Release what you can't carry anymore. There comes a point in every journey when you're no longer being asked to run harder, climb higher, or do more. Instead, you're asked to do something quieter but far more powerful. You're asked to put something down, to let go of what no longer belongs, to release what's too heavy for your soul to keep carrying. This is the final truth of mental detox. You don't find peace by holding on, you find it by letting go. For most of your life, you've been taught to achieve, to accumulate, to prove, to push. You've been rewarded for carrying everything: responsibility, guilt, expectations, past pain, unsaid words, unresolved emotions. And you've probably gotten very good at it. You've learned how to hold it all without showing it, how to smile while your mind feels like it's sinking, how to be strong for others while secretly feeling crushed under the weight of your own thoughts. But strength isn't just about how much you can carry. True strength is knowing what to carry and what to release. And the truth is, there are some thoughts, stories, roles, and identities you were never meant to carry this far. They served you once, they protected you once, but now they're just weight. And the longer you hold them, the more they pull you away from the person you're becoming. Let's talk about the different kinds of mental weight we carry and how to finally begin letting go. 1. The weight of old narratives. Many people walk through life replaying stories they didn't write. I'm not good enough. I always ruin things. Nothing ever works out for me. These beliefs are not facts, they are narratives, often inherited from childhood, past trauma, rejection, or someone else's insecurity projected onto you. But here's the truth. Just because a story started in your past doesn't mean it deserves a place in your future. Start by noticing your most painful inner beliefs. Ask yourself, where did this begin? Was it something someone told you? A moment that hurt you? An experience that made you feel small? Then ask, is it true now? Often the answer is no. You've grown. You've changed. You've survived. And now, it's time to write a new story, one rooted in self-respect, compassion, and possibility. You can't become your highest self while repeating your lowest narrative. Let it go. 2. The weight of other people's expectations. One of the heaviest burdens is the silent need to live your life according to other people's ideas. Your family wants one thing, society wants another. Your old self wants safety. Your future self wants freedom. And somewhere in the middle, you get lost. But mental clarity can never come from living someone else's vision. You were not born to be someone else's version of successful or good or normal. You were born to become fully yourself, and that means letting go of roles that were never yours to carry. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the guilt for choosing your peace over their approval. Let go of shrinking yourself just to keep others comfortable. The people who truly love you will adjust to your light, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to hold your evolution. 3. The weight of past mistakes. We all have things we wish we could undo, words we wish we didn't say, paths we wish we didn't take, people we wish we didn't trust. And for many, the mind becomes a courtroom where the past is judged on repeat. But here's the truth. Growth means making peace with your former self. You're allowed to outgrow the version of you that made those choices. You're allowed to forgive yourself even if others don't. You're allowed to evolve without carrying the emotional debt of your past forever. The purpose of pain is not to punish you, it's to shape you. The lessons you learned were not meant to become anchors, they were meant to become wings. So yes, acknowledge what happened, take accountability, make amends if you can. But after that, release it. You don't owe your pain a lifetime of self-condemnation. 4. The weight of things you cannot control. How much time do we spend worrying about things that live outside our reach? What they think of us, what might go wrong, whether we'll be okay in 5 years, whether we missed our one big chance. This kind of mental noise is not productive, it's paralyzing. It creates anxiety disguised as planning, control disguised as preparation, fear disguised as responsibility. But no matter how tightly you grip, you can't control the wind. You can only adjust your sail. Let go of the illusion that you must have all the answers. Let go of the need to fix every outcome. Let go of the belief that if you don't worry, something will go wrong. Peace comes not from knowing what's next, but from trusting that you'll meet it with strength when it arrives. 5. The weight of constant mental activity. You don't have to be thinking all the time. You don't have to analyze every feeling. You don't have to solve every mystery. The mind is a tool, not a tyrant. Sometimes the most powerful mental detox is simply resting your mind. Walk in silence. Breathe without trying to meditate right. Sit without a goal. Let your thoughts float by without attaching to them. Let yourself be not as a project to fix, but as a person to honor. Mental lightness comes not from thinking harder, but from thinking less. Not from figuring it all out, but from learning when to let things unfold naturally. So how do you begin releasing what you can't carry anymore? Start with one small question. What am I carrying that no longer serves me? Then sit quietly. Listen. Let your body speak. Let your breath slow. Let the answer resonate from force, but from surrender. You don't need to release everything in a single day, but you can begin. Thought by thought, weight by weight. You don't need anyone's permission to put it down. You don't need to explain your healing to people who prefer your pain. You just need to trust that peace is always lighter than pressure, and that you are worthy of both healing and relief. A final reflection. When you strip away all the layers, the fear, the noise, the pressure, the roles, what remains is you, the real you, the one who doesn't have to carry everything, the one who deserves to live free, the one who is allowed to put the heavy things down and walk away from the inner war. And maybe, just maybe, when you finally do, you'll feel your shoulders drop, you'll feel your breath deepen, you'll feel your mind soften, and you'll realize you didn't need to carry all of that. You never did. You just needed to believe that life could be lived light. And now, you can. That choice alone is a revolution, because most people will keep running. They will keep stuffing their minds with noise, hiding from themselves, chasing peace in places that only bring more chaos. But you did something rare. You slowed down, you looked within, and you asked a powerful question. What if I could start again? And now you know you can. Mental detox is not just a moment of clarity, it's a lifestyle, a practice, a quiet vow you make to yourself every day. I will no longer let my thoughts control my worth. I will no longer carry weight that was never mine. I will no longer allow noise to drown out my truth. You now understand that your mind is not a place for fear to live rent-free. It is not a storage unit for guilt and regrets. It is not a punishment chamber for your imperfections. Your mind is your home and it deserves to be cared for, respected, and cleaned as often as needed. You've learned how to silence the inner critic, how to remove the clutter, how to release the past, how to create daily rituals of peace, how to speak to yourself like someone you love, how to rest your thoughts without fear, how to rewrite the story, and finally feel safe inside your own head. This is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning of a new one. A path where you wake up in a mind that feels lighter, where you respond instead of react, where your thoughts are no longer storms but clear skies with space to breathe. So, walk forward gently. Walk forward wisely. Not with force, but with presence. Not to prove anything, but to protect everything you've now built within. And on the days when the noise creeps back in, and it will remember this. You don't have to control it. You don't have to fight it. You just have to return to what you now know is true. Your peace is possible. Your clarity is real. And your mind is yours to reset, to protect, to live in, fully and freely. Breathe deeply. You made it. Now live light and begin again.